Winter. For us, it is a season of aesthetics, a time for thick sweaters, warm drinks, and decorative lights. We sit by frosted windows and watch the snow fall. We feel peaceful. We feel safe. But this version of winter is an illusion, a very modern, very fragile luxury. For 99% of human history, winter was not a season to be enjoyed. It was a relentless, quiet monster, a brutal biological filter that eliminated the weak. To truly understand our ancestors, we have to strip away the romance. We have to look at the cold for what it actually was, a ticking clock. Imagine standing in a prehistoric forest as autumn ends. You are a creature biologically engineered for the heat of the African savanna, but you are far from home. The days grow terrifyingly short. The sun becomes weak and distant. The green leaves turn brown, wither, and die. The vast herds of grazing animals sense the shift. They begin their massive migrations, walking away over the horizon, taking your primary food source with them. Then, the rivers slow down. The water hardens into solid, unyielding ice. The world goes completely silent. And then, the first snowflakes begin to fall. It is the beginning of the White Death. When extreme cold sets in, the rules of biology change entirely. Your body is a machine that runs on heat. To keep your core temperature up, you burn fuel. In sub-zero temperatures, this process goes into overdrive. Merely standing in the freezing wind drains your energy reserves. Uncontrollable shivering can multiply your metabolic rate by up to 5 times. You are literally burning away from the inside out, just to stay alive for one more hour. To fuel this fire, you need calories. Massive, continuous amounts of fat and protein. But you are surrounded by an empty, frozen desert. There are no roots to dig up. The earth is like concrete. There are no berries, no fruits. You have to hunt. But hunting in deep snow is a mathematical nightmare. Every step through heavy, knee-deep snowdrifts is exhausting. It takes agonizing effort just to move forward. If you track an animal for 3 days in this freezing hell, and your spear misses, you haven't just lost a meal. You have spent critical energy you can never get back. A failed hunt is a giant leap toward the grave. Because of this terrifying caloric deficit, proud apex predators were forced to become desperate scavengers. When fresh meat vanished, ancient humans looked for the dead. They tracked the movements of dire wolves and cave lions, waiting for the predators to finish their meals. Then, they would creep in to steal the scraps, often finding nothing but bare, frozen bones left in the snow. But they couldn't afford to leave them behind. They dragged these heavy skeletons back to their dark, freezing caves. Sitting in the dim light of a dying fire, they would smash the thick bones open with heavy stones, hunting for the fatty bone marrow hidden deep inside, scraping out every last miserable, frozen calorie. It was a grim, exhausting existence, but it kept them alive. But what happens when the blizzards last for weeks? What happens when there are no bones left to smash? What happens when the starvation reaches its absolute breaking point? This is where human history gets incredibly dark, because the brain has a final, hidden failsafe. When the body begins to shut down from starvation, the brain forcefully rewrites its own software. It deactivates the regions responsible for complex morality. It turns off social boundaries. It erases the very concept of taboo. Hunger, extreme hunger, makes monsters of us all. We know this because the archaeological record cannot lie. Deep inside places like Gough's Cave in England, scientists found evidence of the unthinkable, human bones. But they were not buried with respect or ceremony. They were covered in deep, systematic cut marks made by stone tools. They were butchered, cracked open in the exact same way they cracked animal bones, to extract the marrow inside. This wasn't some dark religious ritual. It wasn't the work of evil people. It was pure, desperate, mechanical survival. When the food is gone, and the wind is screaming outside, the deceased members of the tribe simply stop being family. The brain looks at them and sees only one thing: a resource, calories. Survival cannibalism is the darkest mathematical equation in nature. Eat the dead, or become the dead. They ate, and they lived. But starvation wasn't the only threat driving them to horrific choices. A nomadic tribe in a frozen wasteland has one golden rule: you have to keep moving. If the herds move, you move. If the firewood runs out, you move. Stopping in one place for too long means freezing to death. The tribe is only as fast as its slowest member. And in the depths of the Ice Age, weakness was a death sentence for everyone. Imagine a hunter who breaks his leg on the ice, or an elder whose joints are failing from the cold, or a sick infant draining the last of its mother's energy. Today, we care for our sick. We carry them. Empathy is the foundation of our modern humanity. But empathy is a luxury that requires a calorie surplus. In the brutal reality of winter, empathy will kill the entire tribe. So, ancient humans engaged in a practice so dark, we barely speak of it. Abandonment, leaving the weak behind in the snow. There were no loud arguments. No long, tearful goodbyes. It was a silent, mutual understanding. The tribe packs up their minimal belongings. They begin to walk into the white distance. A long line of dark footprints in the deep snow, and one person simply stays seated by the dying fire, watching their family disappear over the hill. Knowing exactly what is coming when the sun goes down, the footprints move forward. One set stays behind. It was the ultimate, heartbreaking sacrifice, severing the dead weight to give the rest of the tribe a chance. But even if you kept moving, the environment kept trying to kill you. The cold didn't just steal your heat. It stole your nutrients. The human body requires specific vitamins to function. Without vitamin C, your connective tissues break down, your gums bleed, your teeth fall out, old scars split open and bleed fresh. This is scurvy. But where do you get vitamin C when the world is entirely frozen? There is not a single green leaf, fruit, or vegetable for hundreds of miles. The solution was violent and deeply unpleasant. When a hunting party finally managed to bring down a large animal, absolutely nothing could be wasted. The first thing they did was drink the blood, thick, dark, and steaming in the cold air. It provided an immediate, vital burst of heat and hydration. In a world where all water was frozen solid, fresh blood was liquid life. But the real prize, the cure for scurvy, was found inside the stomach of a reindeer or a mammoth. These animals were herbivores. They possessed the enzymes to digest tough winter vegetation. Hunters would slice open the massive digestive tract, revealing a steaming, horrific-smelling mass. Half-digested moss, lichen, and frozen grasses. It is known as chyme. And to ancient humans, it was a lifeline. It was the only source of plant matter available. The only way to get the vitamins their bodies were screaming for. They ate this fermented, acidic sludge raw, right out of the animal's stomach, standing in the freezing wind, with blood on their hands, doing whatever it took to keep their teeth in their skulls. When we look back at these survival methods today, drinking blood, abandoning the elderly, cannibalizing the dead, we feel a profound sense of horror. It feels alien. It feels inhumane. But we are judging them from an unfair position. We are looking down from the safety of our heated homes, our fully stocked refrigerators, our insulated coats. We have never known true, unyielding desperation. Ancient humans did not do these things out of malice. They were not primitive savages enjoying the violence. They were terrified, freezing animals pushed to the absolute limit. They did these things for one simple reason. They wanted to live. When the temperature dropped to minus 40 degrees, when the fire started to die, the human brain flipped its ultimate evolutionary switch. It shut off the luxury of sentimentality. It activated the absolute, cold protocol of survival. And we should be profoundly grateful that it did, because every single human being alive on Earth today is the result of that dark arithmetic. We are the descendants of the ones who made the impossible choices, the ones who refused to quietly lay down and die in the snow. They drank the blood. They left the slow behind. They ate the unthinkable. Somewhere, deep in the freezing darkness of the Ice Age, your direct ancestors fought a brutal war against the planet itself, and they won. They paid a psychological and physical price we cannot even comprehend. They carried the spark of humanity through the darkest, coldest nights, guarding it with their lives, so that thousands of years later, the ice could melt, the civilizations could rise, the heaters could be turned on. They endured the ultimate nightmare, so that we could have the luxury of empathy, so that we could sit by a frosted window, look out at the falling snow, and think that winter is beautiful. We owe them everything. Never forget what it took to get here. Silence.